The days of having a massive room full of developers and scrum teams of 10 people and review, and I think are in the past.
Built this week, breaking it down. Built this week, we show you how. A fresh idea, a clever tweak. You locked in, you built this week.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Built This Week, the podcast where we share what we're building, how we're building it, and what it means for the world of AI and startups. I'm Sam Nadler, co-founder here at Rise Labs, and each and every week I'm joined by my friend, business partner, and co-host Jordan Metzner. And this week we have a special guest, Anthony from Auto Acquire AI. Anthony, if you don't mind, please introduce yourself and tell us a tiny bit about Auto Acquire AI.
Sure. Hey, Anthony Monteiro, CEO and founder of Auto Acquire AI. Auto Acquire is a tool that we built specifically for car dealers that can buy a car directly from a consumer. I think a lot of people are familiar with Carvana and in their advertisement that they see on TV all the time, where I think it's Kristen Bell is sitting there and she's going, hold it, and her husband's cutting the grass and she's like, he's like, sell it. She's like, no, we need to hold it. So we've created a tool like that for your everyday car dealer, small, medium, large, and you don't have to be that big mega Carvana dealership organization to buy a car directly from a consumer, because it really is kind of clunky and there's a lot of pieces to it. So we tried to smooth it out. We tried to make it a really easy process for both our customer, who's the dealer user, and then that customer that just wants to get a check and have someone come pick their car up out of their driveway so they can maybe go buy another one.
Amazing. This is super top of mind for me. I'm actually selling 2 cars this week, so excited to learn more. With that in mind, Jordan, we built something with Auto Acquire in mind. Give us the quick demo.
Yeah, so it was really great to meet earlier this week with Anthony and Chris. Awesome to hear the story about Auto Acquire and some of its features and tool sets. So based on that, I did a little vibe coding, mostly front end type tool, which, based on your feedback was like a messaging bus. So I'd like to show that to you now. So essentially what you do is you have some type of event. In this case, it's a webhook. So you can customize it. Basically, someone fills out a web form. So once they fill out a web form, then we send it over to AI and we do some analysis. So, kind of what is the person's intent by their form. If we have a high confidence score, then we'll actually score it and then send them an SMS like, hey, why don't you come on by or something like that, based on a template type system. And then if we have low confidence score, then we might do something like an email drip campaign if we realize like maybe the candidate isn't, optimal to maybe buy a vehicle at this time. And then obviously, all of this is kind of totally customizable. You can edit each of these parts of these flows, kind of, if this case you wanted the confidence score to be 90, etc. And then you can edit all these templates. And I'll show you a quick example of what this looks like. What you'll do is you'll execute the flow. And so here we have the webhook, the analysis, the text. And then here it looks like my CSS is a little off, but he says, is the 2021 F-150 still available? Hi, Alex. Yes, the F-150 is still available. It's on a lot now. Would you like to schedule a test drive? And so, this message is just completely automated directly based on kind of the web form, the intent analysis, and then the scoring, and then send off that SMS automatically. So yeah, that's what I built for you guys, Anthony. I would love to hear some feedback on what you think.
I think it's awesome. I love the fact, people using Vibe and in other AI type generative platforms today has changed the game for us, right? I've been doing this stuff since, I don't know, 30 years, I guess. And the days of having a massive room full of developers and scrum teams of 10 people and review and peer reviews and all of the things that really slow down code development, I think are in the past. Now, that's not to say that it's completely gone and we don't need humans that are going to prompt these engines, and or when the code gets generated, that has to be tested and connect to all the other APIs and fun things that we do as we build software. But, super cool. And you could easily, I'm sure, take this into anything, right? Instead of, hey, is the F-150 available? It would be, is your 2021 Porsche Cayenne still available? And would you like to sell it to us, right? Here's an offer. I'll pay you cash today, and just kind of build this workflow down a intelligent conversation path via text with the customer, and it doesn't tie up staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just built a basic format, but you could probably include this analysis later on down the pipeline again, right? So you're kind of keep analyzing the conversation, decide, hey, do I keep responding back with SMS, or maybe I should call the person, or even maybe bridge a phone call where you maybe call the dealer first and then have the bridge call the customer and say, hey, this is Johnny. You could even like payload the data to the dealer side. So, his phone rings, he knows it's auto acquired, he picks it up and he's like, hey, Johnny's got a F-150 to sell, just try to get him down to the dealership. And then Johnny picks up the phone and then, they can kind of bridge that relationship. So this was just a simple, easy one. But what I like about the interface is I think it's very easily understood by a non-technical user. And I think this is cool because dealers inherently are non-technical users. And so, they may say, hey, you know what? Like this SMS template, like it's not converting that well. Maybe we should, change out this template to a different template to see if we get better conversion, or maybe A/B test, or hey, sending them a text when they have high intent is not as good as just calling them on the phone. Maybe we want to change this to a phone call example. So, I think dealerships can start to learn, and obviously with your software understanding success rates, like, which flows are working the best, you might be able to do some analysis to see, how to optimize these flows for each dealer kind of thing. Because to your point, Anthony, these dealerships are some are small, some are large, some are in, small, Midwestern towns, and some are in, large, metropolitan cities. And I'm guessing that based on these geolocations, their customers have, completely different behavior. If small dealership in a small town, you're kind of looking for a phone call versus a text, big dealership, big city, maybe a text is like more appropriate, for example, in like Manhattan or something.
Yeah, and it's also very dependent upon their staffing configuration and their organizational operations, right? I might have a big BDC where I have a bunch of agents that I can dump these calls into, or soft hand off the call to maybe somebody that got engaged, or I might not be able to do that. So I'll need a voice AI agent to go out and start making those calls and get the customer further in the funnel, because I could probably ask some more questions, right? I could get into, if the customer says, "Hey, yeah, I might be interested in that." Excellent. What kind of condition is the exterior, and give them some prompts. Good, fair, excellent, poor. How about the interior? And then just really capture data through these tools, versus typically what the status quo is: send the customer somewhere to do something, right? Fill out a form, enter in information, press a button, wait for somebody to call them, email them, or do something. They're wanting immediate gratification. What's my car worth? I don't want to wait for somebody to call me with that number. Just show it to me right now, even if it's in that same text communication. Build an API that can give them the price and deliver it while they're engaged, instead of having the biggest thing, is, you guys know, everybody knows, is the engagement. Once I have someone engaged, I don't want to let them go, right? So we engage them, then we go, okay, well, wait a minute, we'll get back to you. Right?
Yeah. Which, I mentioned I'm selling 2 cars this week. It's the same exact thing happened to me. I'm waiting to trigger my CarMax and Carvana prices, but I reached out to my dealer and he said he was gonna give me a price, waited for about an hour. 24 hours later, still haven't received anything. At this point, there's still time left in my own personal timeline to like consider what they may offer me. But, for the most part, I've kind of moved on from them as an option just because they didn't respond quickly enough.
Well, first of all, it's almost shocking, right? Like I said, I've been doing this for a long time. How do I not give you an instant price on my website? Like, why do I need to have a human do that? Part of this, it's math, it's algorithmic. The values are available in databases across multiple different layers of information, and the variation between an excellent and poor is great, but it typically falls somewhere in the middle. So it's easy with AI to smooth it all out, right? How your car is really not going to. I can just ask you a few questions, and AI can tell by even your tone if you're answering the question. If I say, "Hey, is your car excellent or poor?" and you go, excellent," well, I'm going to move it more to average, right? Because if it's excellent, you're gonna say excellent. If it's poor, you're gonna go, "Yeah, my car, it's kinda beat up a little bit," right? I use it as a work vehicle.
Yeah, and it's all dependent on a inspection anyway. So you just wanna, like, be you that speed to get them enticed and, I guess, show simplicity is what I'm looking for as a
1,000%.
potential seller.
But,
Yeah.
like, if you got your CarMax price and Carvana price, you had no humans involved in that process.
No.
You answered some questions, maybe a little bit more than, a quick one, but they showed you what the price is that they're going to pay you subject to, like you said, an inspection. What we did, what's pretty cool is if your dealer was a customer of ours, you would have went on the website and filled out the form, the questions, right? And it would have instantly given you a certificate with your offer. And then in that certificate with your offer, there's a link to launch an inspection. So while you're on your phone, it says, "Hey, go stand in front of your car," and it like depositing a check says, "Stand in the front." Click. Go to the driver's side. Click, and it poses the user or the seller around the car. Takes 14 pictures of the exterior, 4 of the interior, so we capture the dashboard, so we see the odometer, and then, computer vision AI zooms in and it looks for dents, scratches, dings, tears in the seats. So all of these things, it does an analysis, so now the consumer is more engaged, right? I know that you took 10 minutes out of your day to go do that, but as a buyer, I have all that information. I don't have to wait for you to come in and do this inspection because the next thing that dealer is gonna say is, "Hey, Sam, when can you get down here?" That's gonna be a next move, right? And you're gonna go, "Well, I don't know, man. I'm kinda busy, and you're 30 minutes away, and by the time you" Carvana's gonna go, "I'm gonna put the money in your checking account. My car and truck will be there on Thursday at 3 o'clock to pick it up." Which one of you do you do?
Okay, so that's perfect segue. You're an industry veteran, 30 years. What, insights over your career led you to launch Auto Acquire? What was the biggest pain point? We've touched upon it a little bit, but let's transition specifically into your product.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of different businesses and niches in this space of building software for car dealers. There's so many companies out there trying to do everything all the time, and they end up only doing some of it, okay. And you look at this demand in the used car market that it's really hard to go to auctions now and buy cars because the big guys, the CarMaxes, the Carvanas, the Lithias, the Sonics, they all go and they have teams of buyers and they buy all the stuff that's at the auction. So it's really hard for your average dealer to go in and raise their hand and buy a car that's at a reasonable price. And then you got auction fees and transportation fees, and you have all these things that add up. So now you go try to recondition it and sell the car, your margins are super, super compressed. So we said, let's find vehicles that our dealers literally have in the customers' driveways. Most of these dealers have 20,000, 40,000, 50,000 customers in their database. So why not just keep reaching out to them? I need to buy 5 F-150s. Well, I have a database of customers who have, let me see, 22,000 F-150s in the ownership database. Let me reach out to them and just simply ask them, do you want to sell it? And put a price on it right out of the gate. We don't even have them go through the steps. We'll just put a price on it and just think in your scenario, if you had gotten an email 2 or 3 months ago or a month ago saying, "Hey, I want to," what are you trying to sell or get rid of?
Pathfinder
Okay.
and a Rogue.
Okay. So imagine receiving an email or a text message from that dealer a couple months ago saying, "Hey, Sam, I'd love to buy your Pathfinder and your Rogue, and here's how much I'll give you. All you do is push this button," right?
Yeah, would be
Your
great.
deal with them would have been done by now. They would have
Yeah.
acquired both of those vehicles. You wouldn't even have gone to CarMax or Carvana. So now what these dealers have done is they put themselves in a really bad scenario. You're going to go to CarMax or Carvana and sell your car, and they're gonna lose that trade, and they're gonna be in this downward spiral of, "I can't get inventory, people aren't trading cars with me," because they're not giving the consumer the option to do it really easy, and they're not in the game. They're not in the game. That's the
Yeah.
problem. This puts them in the game.
That's awesome. And, just a quick question before we jump into the news a little bit. Maybe all of this wasn't possible without AI, or maybe AI has, facilitated a lot of significant improvements. Obviously, AI is in the name of the company as well, but it'd be great to hear just a little bit about how, some AI has enabled some, product development features, technology that probably wasn't able to be generated before AI existed or before the ability to like access these LLMs. I think that computer vision's been around for years, reading a license plate, that kind of basic-y stuff. I'd love to hear a little bit about just how AI has had like a major impact on the business.
Sure. It's funny, sometimes I almost wanna take AI out of the name, right? Because everybody, "Oh, I'm AI," and realistically, most aren't. There's some sort of a application that they sit on top of their old legacy stuff and build and say they're an AI company. We started from scratch going into it. My last venture with a startup, we had to lean into AI really heavily because we built a logistics platform of picking and dropping off vehicles, and to determine how long it takes to go from point A to point B, and each driver had different characteristics and traffic patterns and time of day and all of these things. AI had to really maximize it, or else you would never be able to rendezvous the two endpoints, the A to B, and get the driver to another place. Similar to what DoorDash and all these other Ubers do, right? They maximize, they have AI figure out where's the next and closest place that this driver can go to. And so we had to lean into it way before the LLM models that are out there today, but it got us comfortable with, hey, this is going to be something that's really going to help us. The automobile industry, and especially what we do with vehicle values, it's very structured data. It's structured, right? There's a year, make, model, trim, color, options, mileage, right? Service dates. There's all these really finite points of data that machine learning loves, right? It doesn't have to go out to this sprawled place of LLMs and try to pull it back. It's like, okay, I have everything right here. I can, like, I already did the math up front. Now what do you want me to do? So we were able to take like the structured data and then now go out and be able to see every single vehicle that's listed online for sale and build algorithms using AI of what's the real value of a vehicle today, right now in that market. Not waiting for the auction data, not waiting for some feed to come in that's normally lagging. And who knows with vehicle values, it could change in a minute, right? Like there could be some news that completely blows up the value of a car because something happened or something changed it, some economic thing. Well, those happen in real time, and if you can utilize it in real time, then that number is so accurate, you can't do it without it. You just can't, because you can't process that much information without being able to, use AI.
All right. Well, that's obviously a great overview of the business, and seems like the upside is obviously in your favor, as these are kind of historically non-technical businesses implementing technology. So it seems like there's a big upside here. Maybe this is a great pivot to jump into the news, Sam.
Sure. Yeah, let's I tried to choose a few auto industry focused articles. First one up is about Waymo. Waymo raising 15 billion in new funding at a valuation of 110 billion. Part of the reason why I chose this, outside that you come from the auto industry, Anthony, is because last week I took my first Waymo. It was a pretty magical experience, and it leads one to believe how quickly most cars will be autonomous and over what time period. But yeah, just any thoughts on Waymo in general and this new funding announcement?
I personally think it's crazy that Waymo could raise that much money on that model. Not that the model's not good, but to build a Waymo vehicle, you need a massive investment on putting the vehicle together. So the number of cameras that they use and the type of cameras that they use and the lidars that they use are far more costly than Tesla's version, right? So Tesla can put the same technology out with a self-driving Tesla taxi. I forget what they call it. Is a
Robo taxi. Yeah.
robo taxi for a third of the price, right? So the cost of the vehicle, and you have a manufacturer in Tesla that not only manufactures the vehicle, but already has the driving data from all of the consumers driving the car. So their data collection of being accurate, of being able to be safe in capturing all of the imagery around them compared to what Waymo has, I don't get it because I don't know, man. You gotta go buy some Jaguars and build them all and then deploy them when you literally can get a Tesla in a couple of weeks and create a whole fleet that's already built to do this.
Well, I don't highly disagree with you, but I'll push back on a few points just to play a
Okay.
little devil's advocate here. So I'm a Tesla owner. I just returned my lease and flipped it. I had a Tesla FSD 14.2. It was incredible. I had it for about a week. I returned my Tesla, got a new Tesla. I don't have 14.2, so it definitely feels like a regression until they like push it back to me. And I saw Tesla launched Robotaxi in Austin, like the first driverless version. It does seem that Tesla has a huge opportunity here if they're able to find full autonomy with a camera only system, especially because of how many vehicles they have deployed in the marketplace, ignoring their data and all those other things. I mean, I have a car parked in my driveway. I go on vacation, I turn it onto the network, or I'm not using it that day, and the vehicle goes from a cost center to a revenue generator. I think in the case of Waymo, I would say two things. One is the fact that the vehicle costs like I believe I saw this morning, Chamath said about 150K versus Tesla's 25K. So in that math, we're talking 6x, right? 6 or 8x.
Yeah.
And so, I think that is questionable. But if they put this technology on a cheaper vehicle, obviously a Jaguar is an expensive vehicle. So, if they move to a cheaper vehicle type, what is the true cost of that? What of the true LiDAR hardware is going to get reduced or not necessary? Is Waymo, which is backed by Google, going to figure out using computer vision and, catch up to this type of Tesla technology? And, I think my last question or comment overall about all of this, and I think this is what I said to Sam last week with 14.2 is, to me, it seems most obvious that Tesla will license the software to every other auto manufacturer. And selling Tesla FSD in a hardware software kit to manufacturers seems to me like the most probable path for multiple reasons, because it seems impossible Tesla will ever be able to produce the volume of the amount of vehicles needed in the United States. They'll never be able to have the vehicle diversity to meet that. And since customers like it so much, it just seems so obvious that Tesla could sell manufacturers an 8 kit, camera kit plus a piece of hardware that puts in the trunk. And when you go to lease or buy a car, you can buy it with FSD or without FSD. And, you're just paying, to the dealer, you're paying Honda, you're paying Toyota's paying Tesla. And it just seems obvious that these, giant manufacturers are never going to be able to stand up a laboratory that will compete against this. And so that also may, double down Tesla's ability to be excellent here. I'm sure Waymo would probably try the same type of behavior, but as you mentioned, this additional hardware is so limiting in the ability to kind of scale.
Yeah, it's hardware that you can't well, you can, but the manufacturer, it's much harder to just put that in the assembly line and come out the pipe with a bunch of cameras in your mirrors and bumpers and places versus adding on these big, clunky, as you can see, the big rotary thing on the top
Totally.
that looks really crazy. But listen, I wish I could go raise that kind of money. Um, or maybe like an eighth of it
Mhm.
or a
Yeah.
16th, I'd be really happy. But, God bless them. And,
Yeah.
if it works, it works. Everybody's got a dream and a model. And, Google's a big player and they own the map, world. So, who knows?
Yeah.
I truly feel watching Tesla and knowing Elon Musk that space is probably going to be dominated by a test like you said. It Once it goes into Fords and Chevys and Toyotas and Hondas, then it's game over because I could build a fleet of taxis with any brand just with software at that point.
Honda Civic, Prius, whatever.
Well, even more so, just like all the other vehicles that Tesla doesn't manufacture that are required. I mean, F-150 is the most popular vehicle in the United States, and the Cybertruck competes with it in some sense, but not necessarily a replacement vehicle. Look at Sprinter vans. I mean, look at the two-door sedans, even things like motorcycles could move to FSD, right? And so would just have full auto driving on motorcycles. So anyway, it sounds super exciting. Let's jump into the Tesla news.
Yeah, and I thought again, auto industry focus. I'm not sure how big news this is, but Tesla supposedly has engaged in deceptive marketing for the full self-driving. I partly chose this because Jordan is so bullish on Tesla and so bullish on full self-driving. I'm just curious to hear his reaction. But yeah, I mean, I've experienced it myself. It's quite impressive. But any immediate thoughts on full self-driving? And is there any here, I guess I should say?
Yeah, my 2 cents is just Elon's a great marketer, and he's been calling it FSD and full self-driving for years when it's not full self-driving. I mean, it's pretty obvious, right? Full self-driving means the car is fully self-driving. So to this date, I don't think they've even launched what I would consider like full self-driving, right? That means I can like close my eyes and go to sleep type of thing, all right? In a Waymo, I'm not even sitting in the driver's seat. So until I can sit in another seat in the vehicle, I wouldn't say it's full self-driving. But I think that's part of Elon's been selling FSD for years, right? He sold it as this like big package and then he moved to a licensing model. And I can understand why states are pretty mad at his kind of quote false advertising here around it. I think like I don't know. I mean, seems like more of a civil matter. Like consumers would probably have a class action lawsuit against Tesla saying that like they misrepresented what their full self-driving is rather than coming from the state. But it is what it is. But yeah, curious what you think, Anthony.
It's definitely a bit of a false advertisement, it's wording and it says full and it's not, right? It's augmented, it's assisted. There's a lot of different words you can use other than full, but you know what? He's Elon and he's going to push the limits on everything. And if he gets slapped with a $100 million lawsuit because he used the wrong words, he really doesn't care, right? So he's gonna keep doing what he does, and it might force them to make a little bit of a change, but they're just going to continue to get better at everything that they do around this space. And we will be able to sit in other seats in their cars, and it's not far away.
Yeah, that's so exciting. I mean, I think like Sam said at the beginning, the Waymo was such a life-changing experience. FSD 14.2 was pretty life-changing for me. And I mean, I'm guessing that they're holding 15 out for a, life-changing kind of next level experience. But I'm glad these guys are fighting it out though. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the competition makes for better, right? And they'll definitely fight it out, and there'll probably be more than one winner. Uber and Lyft fought it out for a while. Uber, I believe, came out way on top, and it just is what it is. But Lyft still lives for another day, and they have some market, and sometimes you only need some to be happy, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, let's wrap. Thank you, Anthony. It was great to hear about Auto Acquire AI. Thank you for joining us, and it was a pleasure.
Yeah, same. You guys are fun.
Thanks, Anthony. I want to say thanks again for joining us on Built This Week. Everyone can check out Auto Acquire AI online, and you can like and subscribe to Built This Week on YouTube or any of your favorite podcasting platforms. Thanks, everyone, and see you next week.
Thank you.
Built this week, breaking it down. Built this week, we show you how. A fresh idea, a clever tweak. You're locked in, you built this week.